Now, let me invite Pastor Greg Hoffman, Chair of the Committee of Reference and Counsel, to bring to the Assembly the resolution that has been submitted this year for consideration. Pastor Greg, if you will raise your hand so that Lumi may recognize you, and then you can, there you go. And then please unmute yourself and turn on your video.
Okay. Hopefully folks can hear me, but please let me know if you cannot. So let's see. I am bringing on behalf of the Committee of Reference and Counsel this resolution well, we'll get to that part. The resolution is Communal Stewards of God's Creation. Whereas Scripture tells us, quote, the earth is the Lord's and all that is in it, unquote, and it proclaims, quote, O Lord, how manifold are your works. In wisdom you have made them all. The earth is full of your creatures, unquote. And whereas the testimony of Scripture is that humanity is created in God's image, an image manifested in God's love, care, and preservation of humanity, and humanity bears that image through its love, care, and preservation of all earthly habitants. Whereas human actions are driving the extinction of plants, animals, and insects that form the foundations of Earth's ecosystems, including threats to the habitats and the biodiversity of South Carolina. And whereas science communicators state numerous reasons why humanity should have hope for a verdant and thriving future, and whereas the 1993 ELCA social statement, Caring for Creation, Vision, Hope, and Justice, affirms that, quote, we are called to care for the earth as God cares for the earth, unquote, and recognizes that, quote, action to counter Earth's degradation is essential to the future of our children and our children's children, unquote, and declares that, quote, each congregation should see itself as a center for exploring scriptural and theological foundations for caring for creation, unquote, and that, quote, as congregations and other expressions of this church, we will seek to incorporate the principles of sufficiency and sustainability in our life, unquote. Therefore, let it be resolved that the South Carolina Synod Assembly set the goal of each congregation of this synod implementing at least one strategy to become better communal stewards of God's magnificent creation. Possible actions that congregations can include, but are not limited to: decrease or eliminate the use of single-use plastic and or styrofoam in congregational meals and functions. Invite and encourage people to bring their own coffee mugs for the Sunday coffee hour. Plant native plants of South Carolina on church property, such as swamp milkweed, butterfly weed, and other plants that support butterflies and bees. Reduce the use of pesticides and weed killers on church property. Plant native trees around the property, giving special consideration to the unsurpassed biodiversity that is fostered by oak trees, the leaves of which are the main food source of numerous insects and caterpillars. Engage with ELCA resources related to caring for creation. Engage with the resources offered by Lutherans Restore and Creation. And be it finally resolved that congregations of the South Carolina Synod are encouraged to share their communal stewardship initiatives with the Synod's Creation Care Task Force, with pictures if possible, prior to the 2025 South Carolina Synod Assembly. Respectfully submitted by the Reverend Michelle Fisher, Pastor, St. John's Lutheran Church, Irmo, and Pomeria Lutheran Church, Pomeria, the Reverend Chris Littman-Kuhn, Pastor, All Saints Lutheran Church, Mount Pleasant.
I now invite anyone who may wish to speak to this resolution to get in line using the speaker queue on the Lumi platform. And we're going to begin with one of the authors of this resolution. Pastor Fisher, would you please raise your hand so Lumi may find you? unmute yourself. Thank you. Call on Pastor Michelle Fisher.
Thank you, Bishop. In March of 2022, Living Lutheran posted an article online called Caring for Creation, One Butterfly at a Time. The article spoke about Christ the King Lutheran Church in Westchester, Ohio, whose youth group learned that butterflies, especially the iconic orange and black monarchs, were at risk. In response, the teens advocated that a portion of their property be used to create a butterfly garden. Later, they cleared their property of the invasive honeysuckle to encourage the native species of Ohio to flourish. Inspired by this article, I asked the council at Colony Lutheran Church in Newbury, where I served at the time, permission to plant a butterfly garden. We had a slow start. I don't necessarily have a green thumb. But in the spring of 2023, several members of the congregation took on this project. And this project not only helped our local butterflies and bees, we saw the joy this small 100 square foot garden created in the congregation. People would stop by, gathering with families to take pictures, and anytime anyone saw a cocoon or a butterfly, a picture was snapped and shared. It was the success of this project at my former congregation that led me to approach Pastor Chris Littman-Kuhn about today's resolution. My first attempt at writing this resolution was simply a request for every congregation to set up a butterfly garden, like Christ the King Lutheran in Westchester, Ohio, and like Colony Lutheran Church in Newbury. But not every congregation is able to plant a butterfly garden. Gardens take time, energy, and people committed to care and watering it as needed. So Pastor Chris Littman-Kuhn and I came up with other small gestures to invite other congregations to take part in this stewardship of creation. So I'd like to invite you to become partners, to join in this opportunity to share in the creation of this beautiful creation that God has given us. We are very blessed in this state. We have both mountains and the ocean. That's not something a lot of states can say. We have rolling hills and farms. And so I invite you to join me in approving this resolution as a sign of gratitude for the beauty which God has given us. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Fisher. Now, is there anyone in the queue that would like to speak to this resolution, either in favor or opposed? I see no one in the queue. I suspect that people are getting ready for lunch. But we will be voting on this resolution at this time, and I'd like to prepare the assembly for voting. Can somebody shake their head if this assembly is ready? I've lost all my online people except for Pastor Michelle and Ron Red. So you can tell me if you're ready, and I'll use that for the rest of the assembly. I see you, Ron. All right, assembly ready to vote. Lumi, let's vote on this. This is a yes or no vote in favor or opposed to this resolution on care of creation. Assembly. Well, wait, let me wait for Lumi. Yes or no? Thank you. Assembly, please vote now. Voting is closed. Lumi, may we see the results? Wonderful. 95% of us, this vote has passed, and this resolution is in action. So as you begin this work of caring for creation, I hope that each of you will be taking pictures to send to the 2025 Assembly. Thank you so much for your resolution, for your work with this, Pastor Michelle and Pastor Chris, and we'll look forward to seeing how we continue to do this work throughout the year ahead. And thank you to the Assembly as well.